You submitted your ATO package. The SSP was 200 pages. You spent 6 weeks writing it. The SCA sent it back in 48 hours. Not for a control finding, not for a missing artifact, for the system description. 2 sentences. That's all it took to stall your entire package. The system security plan is the foundation of your ATO package. Everything else, your controls, your artifacts, your PORAMs, references it. If the SSP is weak, the rest of the package doesn't matter. This video walks you through what an SCA actually evaluates in an SSP, what weak looks like versus strong, and 3 rules that will get your package through without a rewrite. No theory, just the workflow. Here's what most ISOs get wrong about the SP. They treat it like a document about their system, a description of what the system does, who uses it, and what data it holds. And that's part of it, but that's not what the SCA is reading for. The SCA is reading your SSP to answer one question. Can I assess whether this system's controls are implemented? And is all the information I need to make that assessment in this document? The SSP is not a product spec. It's not a technical manual. It's a compliance assertion. Every section exists to support the assessment. The system description tells the SCA what they're assessing. The boundary defines what's in scope. The categorization tells them which baseline applies. The inherited controls tell them what they don't need to assess. The implementation narratives are the assessment itself. When ISOs write the SSP as if it were a description, they write it for the wrong audience. They're writing for a reader who doesn't know the system. SCAs don't need to understand your system. They need to assess your controls. Those are different documents. Before an SCA touches a single implementation narrative, they check 5 things. If any of these are missing or incorrect, the package is returned before the assessment starts. 1. The authorization boundary. This tells the SCA what's in scope for the assessment. If your boundary is vague, the SCA can't determine which systems, components, and data flows to evaluate. A vague boundary is a return. It needs a diagram, a written description, and a list of all the components inside it. 2. Information types and FIPS 199 categorization. This SDA checks that your categorization is documented, that the information types match the data the system actually handles, and that the high watermark is correctly calculated. A categorization error means the wrong control baseline and a complete restart. 3. Common and inherited controls. Every control your system inherits from a higher-level provider. The enclave, the platform, the cloud service, needs to be documented in your SSP, including the source, its authorization status, and what your system still owns. SCAs look for inheritance claims that aren't backed by an active ATO from the providing system. If you're claiming inheritance from something that's not authorized, that's a finding. 4. System interconnections. Any external system. Your system shares data with needs to be documented, including the system name, the direction of data flow, the data type, the protection mechanism, and the reference to the interconnection agreement. Missing an interconnection is a significant finding. The SCA will check against your boundary diagram. 5. Implementation narratives. This is where most ISOs focus all their energy, and it's the last thing that kills a package, not the first. Get the first 4 right, and the narratives have a chance. Get the first 4 wrong, and the narratives never get read. Let me show you what weak and strong look like on the section that causes the most returns, the system boundary. Here's a weak system boundary description, real version of what I've seen. Nexus Portal is a web-based application that supports data management for the Defense Agency. It is hosted in the Defense Agency's data center and accessed by authorized users. That's 2 sentences. It doesn't define what's inside the boundary, what's outside it, or what connects to it. The SCA can't determine the scope from this. They don't know if the web server is in scope. They don't know if the database is in scope. They don't know whether an authentication system needs to be included. This gets returned immediately. Here's a strong version. The Nexus Portal authorization boundary encompasses the following components: The Nexus Portal Web Application Server running Windows Server 2022. The Nexus Portal Database Server running SQL Server 2019. The Load Balancer and the Authentication Service provided via the Defense Agency Enterprise Enclave's inherited Active Directory. The boundary does not include the Defense Agency network infrastructure, end-user workstations, or the Enterprise Active Directory domain controllers, which are covered under the Defense Agency Enterprise ATO, authorized through December 2026. External connections include 1. The Defense Agency Reporting Portal via HTTPS for read-only data pull, and 2. The Defense Agency Email Relay for system-generated notifications. Both connections are documented in the interconnection table in Section 8. A boundary diagram is provided in Appendix A. The SKA reads that and immediately knows what they're assessing, what they're not assessing, and where to find the supporting documentation. No follow-up questions, no return for clarification. The question I get from ISOs when they see this is, how does the SKA even know the difference? They're reading hundreds of SPAPs. Do they really check every section this carefully? Yes, but not the way you think. Let me show you what they actually do in the first 10 minutes. And SKA gets your package in EMAS. They open the SSP. Here's their workflow. In order, first, they check the system overview in EMAS against the SSP cover page, system name, impact level, authorization boundary. If these don't match, the package is already suspect. Second, they go to the system categorization section. They verify the information types, check the FIPS 199 values, and confirm the high watermark is correct for the impact level. Third, they open the boundary section and diagram. They scan for undefined components or unexplained connections. Fourth, they check your inherited controls list against EMAS. They verify that every system you're claiming inheritance from is actually in EMAS and actually authorized. That's 10 minutes. They haven't read a single implementation narrative yet. If they found a problem in any of those 4 checks, the package is already being drafted for return. Most SSP returns happen before the assessment starts. They happen in these first 10 minutes. That's why the first 4 sections matter more than anything in the narrative. 3 rules that apply to every section of the SSP. Rule 1. Every claim needs a reference. If you say the system's impact level is moderate, cite the FIPS 199 categorization table. If you say controls are inherited from the enterprise enclave, cite the ATO number and expiration date. If you say there are no external interconnections, note that you verified this against the network diagram in appendix assertions without references get flagged. Rule 2. Match EMAS exactly. The SKA has your SSP in one window and your EMAS system record in another. Every piece of information that appears in both places needs to match. System name, acronym, impact level, categorization values, component list. Any mismatch triggers a question. Enough mismatches trigger a return. Rule 3. Write for someone who has never seen your system. Not because the SKA doesn't understand federal systems. They do, but they shouldn't have to infer anything from institutional knowledge. If a term could mean 2 different things, define it. If a component has a nickname, use the real name. If a process has a step, name the step. Your SSP should be self-contained. 4 traps I see in nearly every first. Trap 1. The boundary diagram doesn't match the boundary description. You add a component to the diagram, but forget to add it to the written description. The SKA flags the discrepancy. Trap TAT. Inherited controls are listed, but the source isn't authorized. You claim the enterprise enclave covers your physical protection controls. The enclave ATO expired 6 months ago. The SKA checks. That's a finding. Trap 3. Categorization doesn't match the actual data. You categorize availability as low because the system isn't mission critical. But the system processes personnel data with regulatory retention requirements. That's moderate availability at minimum. Miscategorization means the wrong baseline and a full rescope. Trap 4. The SSP version in EMAS isn't the current version. You submitted version 2.3. You've been editing in a Word doc and are now on version 2.7. The SAA is assessing a version of the document that doesn't match your actual controls. Always upload the current version to EMAS before you submit. Here's what to take from this. Your SSP is not a description of your system. It's an assessment package. The SAA checks boundary, categorization, inheritance, interconnections, and narratives, in that order. Get the first 4 right before you touch a single implementation narrative. Write every claim with a reference, match a mass exactly. Write for a reader who has never seen your system. If you want to skip the blank page problem, I built the SSP and control statement template pack, which includes 50 pre-written implementation narratives for the most commonly assessed moderate baseline controls. Each one follows the structure we covered, maps to 800 to 53A assessment objectives, and includes placeholder fields for your system-specific details. It also includes a pre-submission checklist you run before you click Submit, so you catch these issues before the SCA does. Link is in the description. If this helped, subscribe. I publish 1 video a week on practical RMF for working ISOs. See you next week.